Quick like and subscribe if you enjoy my content. You know what's funny about lies? The person telling them always thinks they've covered all the details. They create elaborate stories, believable explanations, perfect alibis. But they forget one crucial thing. Reality has to be consistent. And when you're married to a logistics coordinator who plots delivery routes for a living, someone who analyzes maps and travel patterns and efficiency all day long, you eventually notice when the locations don't make sense. My wife's study group met 3 times a week for 6 months. She told me they studied at the campus library, coffee shops near the university, sometimes at other students' apartments close to school. I'm a route optimization specialist. I notice patterns. I notice distances. I notice when someone drives 16 miles in the opposite direction of campus and calls it a study group near school. And after 6 months of those patterns, I discovered her study group had exactly 2 members, my wife and the man she'd been sleeping with the entire time. My name is Derek. I'm 38 years old, and I work as a logistics coordinator for a distribution company in Portland, Oregon. I spend my days planning optimal routes, calculating drive times, analyzing traffic patterns, and making sure deliveries go to the right places at the right times. I look at addresses all day long. I know the city like the back of my hand. Every neighborhood, every major street, every route between point A and point B. Geography and timing. That's what I do. That's what I'm good at. Which made it impossible not to notice when my wife's geography and timing stopped making sense. I met Lauren 9 years ago at a friend's wedding in downtown Portland. She was working as a dental hygienist, friendly and caring in ways that balanced my analytical nature. I was a logistics guy, always planning, always optimizing. She was spontaneous and warm. We fit together. We got married 8 years ago. Bought a house in the Selwood neighborhood, a 1950s ranch with a big yard and a view of the river. Lauren continued working at a dental practice in Beaverton. I advanced to senior logistics coordinator. Combined income around $165,000. Life was stable, comfortable, exactly what we'd planned. For 7 years, everything worked. We had our routines, our goals, our shared future. We talked about kids eventually, after we'd saved more and maybe traveled some. Then a year ago, Lauren made an announcement that changed everything. I've been thinking about going back to school, she said one evening over dinner. Yeah? For what? Maybe a nursing degree. I love working in healthcare, but I want more responsibility, more patient interaction. I've been looking at accelerated BSN programs. That's great. That's a big step though. Are you sure? I've been researching for months. There's a program at Portland State that's designed for working professionals. Classes 2 evenings a week and Saturday mornings. I could keep working full-time at the practice while I get my degree. How long is the program? 2 years if I take the accelerated track. I'd start in January. I was supportive. Lauren had been a dental hygienist for 10 years. If she wanted to advance her career, go back to school, push herself professionally, I was behind her 100%. She enrolled in the Portland State nursing program. Started classes in January. Tuesday and Thursday evenings from 6 to 9 p.m. and Saturday mornings from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. The campus was downtown, about 25 minutes from our house in Selwood, depending on traffic. For the first few months, the routine was straightforward. Lauren would leave work at 5 o'clock, drive straight to campus, attend class until 9 o'clock, then come home around 9:30. Saturdays she'd leave at 8:15, attend class, and be home by 1:30. Simple. Predictable. The timing made sense for someone driving to downtown Portland for classes. Then in April, about 3 months into the semester, Lauren mentioned forming a study group. Some of us from class are getting together to study, she said. The coursework is intense. It really helps to go over everything together. That's smart. Where do you meet? Usually the campus library. Sometimes coffee shops near school. Just wherever we can find space. How many people? 4 or 5 usually. Depends on who's available. The study group started meeting once a week, then twice a week. By May, Lauren was going to study group sessions 3 times a week on top of her regular classes. Tuesday evening, class until 9 o'clock, then study group until 10:30. Thursday evening, class until 9 o'clock, then study group until 11 o'clock. Saturday, class until 1 o'clock, then study group until 4 o'clock or sometimes 5 o'clock. She was spending 15 to 20 hours a week on campus between classes and study groups. This program is really demanding, she'd say when she'd come home exhausted at 11:30 p.m. on a Thursday. But the study group is making a huge difference. I don't think I could handle this without them. I supported it. Nursing school is intense. Study groups are normal. If Laura needed that extra time to succeed, I understood. But then I started noticing something odd. Little details that didn't quite fit. One Thursday in late May, Lauren texted me around 9:30 p.m., study group running late. Home by 11. At 10:45, I was watching TV when my phone buzzed. A notification from our auto insurance app. We had one of those tracking programs that monitors driving for safe driver discounts. The notification said, trip completed. 47 minutes, 23.7 miles. I opened the app out of curiosity. It showed Lauren's route from that evening. She'd driven from her dental practice in Beaverton to somewhere in southeast Portland. Not downtown. Not near Portland State campus at all. The destination address was on S.E. Hawthorne Boulevard. I knew that area well. It was a residential neighborhood, about 15 minutes from our house. Nowhere near campus, which was downtown. I pulled up a map. Portland State's campus is downtown, near the South Park blocks. S.E. Hawthorne was at least 3 to 4 miles away. Completely different part of the city. Why would a study group studying for Portland State classes meet on S.E. Hawthorne? I didn't say anything that night. Maybe the group had met at someone's apartment instead of campus. That happens. Students live all over the city. But I started paying attention to the insurance app notifications. The following Tuesday, Lauren had class and then study group. She texted me at 10:15, study group at a coffee shop tonight. Home by 11. At 11 p.m., the insurance app pinged. Trip completed. 52 minutes, 26.4 miles. I checked the route. She'd driven from her work in Beaverton to an address on Northeast Alberta Street. Again, nowhere near downtown Portland State campus. Alberta was in Northeast Portland, a completely different direction from campus. I pulled up Google Maps and measured. From Beaverton to Portland State downtown, 12 miles. From Beaverton to N.E. Alberta, 15 miles. She was driving farther, in the opposite direction of campus, to get to her study group near school. Saturday morning, same pattern. Lauren left for her 9 a.m. class. Texted me at 1:15, study group after class. Home by 4. The insurance app pinged at 4:30 p.m. Route showed Beaverton. Her work, she'd gone in for a few hours that morning, to Southeast Division Street. Division Street is east of downtown, not near campus. A 20-mile drive from her work. I looked up the exact addresses. Every single study group, location Lauren had gone to in the past 3 weeks was nowhere near Portland State campus. S.E. Hawthorne, 3.4 miles from campus N.E. Alberta, 4.7 miles from campus. S.E. Division, 2.8 miles from campus. These weren't coffee shops near school. These weren't campus library sessions. These were specific addresses in residential neighborhoods all over Portland, none of them convenient to Portland State. I'm a logistics coordinator. I analyze routes and efficiency for a living. If you have a study group for a downtown campus program, you meet downtown, near campus, where it's convenient for everyone coming from class. You don't drive 3 to 5 miles away from campus into residential neighborhoods to study for classes you just left at that campus. The geography didn't make sense. And in my line of work, when geography doesn't make sense, there's always a reason. I started tracking the patterns more carefully. Not spying, just noting what I was already seeing in our shared insurance app. Over the next 4 weeks, Lauren went to study group 12 times. 12 different sessions spread across Tuesday evenings, Thursday evenings, and Saturday afternoons. 11 of those 12 times, the insurance app showed her driving to addresses that were nowhere near Portland State campus. I looked up each address. S.E. Hawthorne, 4 visits, same address each time. Residential apartment building N.E. Alberta, 3 visits, same address each time. Residential apartment building. S.E. Division, 2 visits, same address each time. Residential condo, building S.E. Belmont. 1 visit. Residential neighborhood, N.W. 23rd. 1 visit. Near campus, but even this was still 8 blocks away from the actual PSU campus buildings. One time, just 1 out of 12, she'd actually gone somewhere that made sense. A coffee shop on SW Broadway, 2 blocks from campus. The other 11 times, she'd driven to residential addresses all over Portland, claiming to be at study groups near school. I pulled up a map and plotted all the locations, created a visual representation of where Lauren's study groups were supposedly taking place. They formed a scattered pattern across Portland, southeast, northeast, northwest, with Portland State Campus sitting in the middle, unconnected to any of them. If this was a delivery route, I'd reject it as completely inefficient. No logical pattern, no central meeting point, no optimization around the campus location that everyone supposedly had in common. But there was one pattern I did notice. That SE Hawthorne address appeared 4 times, more than any other location. Lauren kept going back to the same apartment building on SE Hawthorne. I looked up the address on Google Street View. It was a modern apartment complex. 3 stories. Nice building. Individual units. Not a coffee shop. Not a library. Not a public study space. An apartment building where someone lived. I sat at my desk at work, looking at the map I created, understanding what I was seeing. Lauren wasn't going to study groups all over Portland. She was going to one specific place, that SE Hawthorne apartment, most of the time. The other addresses were probably variations, maybe meeting at restaurants or other locations occasionally. But the primary destination, the place she returned to over and over while claiming to be at study groups near campus, was an apartment 3.4 miles from campus. Someone's apartment. Someone who didn't live near Portland State, but who Lauren was spending 3 to 4 hours with multiple times per week while telling me she was studying. One evening in late June, I decided to verify my suspicion directly. Lauren had texted me at 6:30 p.m., study group tonight after class. Home by 11. At 9:45 p.m., I pulled up the insurance app and waited. At 10:02 p.m., a notification appeared. Trip started. I watched in real time as the GPS tracking showed Lauren's route. She left the area near her dental office in Beaverton, headed east on Highway 26 toward Portland. But instead of taking the exit toward downtown and Portland State Campus, she continued east, took the exit toward SE Portland. She was heading toward that SE Hawthorne address, the apartment she'd visited 4 times already. I grabbed my keys and drove toward SE Hawthorne myself. I knew the area well. It was only about 10 minutes from our house in Selwood. I parked on a side street half a block from the apartment building. Waited. At 10:35 p.m., I saw Lauren's car pull into the parking lot behind the building. She parked, grabbed her backpack, the one she carried her nursing textbooks in, and walked toward the building entrance. She used a key code to enter the building, then disappeared inside. I sat in my car, watching the building, processing what I'd just seen. Lauren had driven from Beaverton to SE Hawthorne, nowhere near Portland State Campus, and entered an apartment building using a code. Like she'd been there before. Like she knew exactly where she was going. This wasn't a study group. Study groups don't meet at private residences where you need an entry code. Study groups meet at coffee shops, libraries, public spaces. This was someone's apartment. Someone Lauren was visiting 3 times a week while telling me she was at study groups near campus. I waited for 90 minutes. At 11:55 p.m., Lauren emerged from the building. She was alone. She walked to her car, got in, and drove away. I waited 5 more minutes, then drove home. Got there before Lauren. She'd texted me from the car. Leaving study group now. Home in 15. When she arrived at 12:20 a.m., I was sitting in the living room. "Hey," she said, looking tired. "Sorry I'm so late. Study group went longer than expected." "How was it?" "Good. Productive. We're reviewing for midterms next week. The material is really challenging." "Where did you meet?" "Coffee shop near campus." "Why? Which one?" The one on Broadway. Near the library." She was lying. She hadn't been on Broadway. She'd been on SE Hawthorne at an apartment building. Must be exhausting driving downtown 3 times a week for these study groups. It is, but it's worth it. I'm learning so much. I let go that night. But I knew. She was lying about where she went, who she was with, what she was doing. The next morning, I did something I'm not proud of. I searched Lauren's name on social media along with Portland State Nursing Program to see if I could find any study group photos or posts. I found Lauren's Instagram. She didn't post much, but her account was public. Scrolled through recent photos. Found one from 3 weeks ago. Lauren and 3 other people in nursing scrubs with a caption, "Clinical Rotation Crew." Hashtag nursing school, hashtag PSU. 3 other women. All in scrubs. All tagged in the photo. I clicked through their profiles. Found more photos of PSU nursing students. Study sessions at actual coffee shops. Campus library photos. Groups of 4 to 6 students with textbooks spread out. Lauren was in some of these photos from earlier in the semester, but none of the recent ones. None from the past 2 months when the study groups supposedly intensified. I searched the S.E. Hawthorne address online. Found the apartment building's website. Looked through the layout options. 2-bedroom units, 1-bedrooms, studios. Then I found a listing site showing a tenant directory of sorts. Not current residents, but a review site where people rated the building. One review from 6 months ago mentioned meeting neighbors. The guy in 2C is really friendly. Great building community. I searched 2C S.E. Hawthorne, Portland, and found a LinkedIn profile. Cameron Mitchell. Age 35. Works as a physical therapist. Lists his location as Portland, Oregon. I clicked on his profile. Scrolled through his posts. Found one from 4 months ago. Excited to start teaching anatomy labs at PSU this semester. Looking forward to working with nursing students. Cameron Mitchell. Physical therapist. Teaching anatomy labs at Portland State Nursing Program. Lives in the S.E. Hawthorne apartment building that Lauren kept visiting while claiming to be at study groups. I'd found him. The person Lauren was spending 10 to 15 hours a week with while lying to me about where she was. That evening, I confronted her. Lauren came home from work around 5:30. She was planning to leave for her Thursday evening class and study group at 6 o'clock. Can we talk before you leave? I asked. I need to leave soon. Can it wait until I get home? No, it can't. She set down her bag. What's going on? I pulled out my phone. Showed her the map I'd created with all the study group locations plotted. These are all the places you've told me you've been going for study groups over the past 6 weeks. Every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. She looked at the map, confused. Okay. Notice anything about these locations? She stared at the map. What am I supposed to notice? I zoomed out to show Portland State campus in relation to the marked locations. Your study groups for Portland State classes, supposedly meeting near campus, are actually happening 3 to 5 miles away from campus, in residential neighborhoods all over Portland. None of them are near school. Her face went pale. This address, I pointed to S.E. Hawthorne. You've been to 4 times in the past 6 weeks. It's an apartment building, not a coffee shop, not a library, an apartment building, 3.4 miles from Portland State campus. We've been meeting at a classmate's apartment. Which classmate? Just someone from the program. What's their name? She hesitated. I don't remember specifically. You've been to their apartment 4 times in 6 weeks, but you don't remember their name? It's a group. Different people host. I pulled up Cameron Mitchell's LinkedIn profile. Showed her his photo. Is this the classmate? Cameron Mitchell? Physical therapist who teaches anatomy labs at PSU. Her face crumbled. She knew I'd figured it out. I'm a logistics coordinator, Lauren. I analyze routes and locations all day long. Your study group locations made no sense. So I tracked them, mapped them, figured out you kept going back to the same apartment building. Then I looked up who lived there. Derek. I followed you last night. Watched you park at that S.E. Hawthorne building at 10:35 p.m. Watched you go inside using an entry code like you'd been there before. You stayed until midnight. Then you came home and told me you'd been at a study group at a coffee shop near campus. She started crying. I'm so sorry. How long? What? How long have you been seeing Cameron? 3 months. Since April. 3 months. The same amount of time you've been going to these study groups. She nodded, sobbing. So there is no study group. There never was. You've been using nursing school as cover to spend time with Cameron 3 times a week. It started as a real study group. He helped some of us with anatomy, but then it became just him and me. Did you sleep with him? She didn't answer, which was answer enough. Where? At his apartment. Yes. The apartment on S.E. Hawthorne. The one you kept telling me was near campus. The one that's actually 15 minutes from our house. I didn't mean for this to happen. You meant every part of it. You chose to pursue this. You chose to lie about where you were going. You chose to use your nursing program, something I've been supporting and encouraging, as a cover for an affair. I grabbed my laptop and pulled up our insurance app. Showed her the tracking data. I have 6 weeks of GPS records showing exactly where you went and when. 12 study group sessions. 11 of them at locations nowhere near campus. 4 of them at Cameron's apartment. The data doesn't lie, Lauren. You tracked me. I monitored our shared insurance app that we both agreed to use. When I noticed your routes made no sense for someone going to campus, I paid closer attention. That's not tracking. That's noticing that geography and timing don't match the story you're telling. She had no response. I'm filing for divorce. I've spent 6 months supporting your nursing education, adjusting my schedule around your classes, understanding when you came home late because of study groups. And the whole time, you've been lying, using nursing school as an alibi to see Cameron. Can we talk about this? We just did. You admitted to a 3-month affair with your anatomy lab instructor. You've been meeting him 3 times a week while lying about study groups near campus. There's nothing else to talk about. Where are you going? Hotel. I'll be in touch through my attorney. I filed for divorce the next morning. My attorney was a woman named Patricia Lee. Your wife used her nursing school schedule as cover for an affair? Patricia asked. 3 times a week for 3 months. Claimed to be at study groups near the Portland State campus. I'm a logistics coordinator. I noticed the locations made no sense. Tracked the GPS data from our insurance app. Found out she was going to her boyfriend's apartment instead. You have GPS evidence. I showed Patricia the tracking data, the map locations, the pattern of visits to Cameron's apartment. This is remarkably thorough documentation. You have proof she repeatedly lied about her location. That strengthens our position significantly. Lauren was served with papers 2 days later. She called immediately. You're really doing this? You had a 3-month affair while pretending to be at nursing school study groups. Yes, I'm doing this. I ended it with Cameron. Yesterday. I told him I choose my marriage. You chose your marriage after you got caught. Not before. That's not choosing. That's damage control. We can go to counseling. You used something I fully supported, your education, your career advancement, as a lie to cover up an affair. You came home from being with Cameron and told me you'd been studying. For 3 months. That's not a mistake. That's calculated deception. The GPS tracking feels like noticing when routes don't make sense. That's my job, Lauren. I coordinate logistics. I plot routes. When you said you were going to campus but kept driving to S.E. Hawthorne, I noticed. That's not surveillance. That's basic geographic awareness. We settled after 7 weeks. I kept the house. I'd paid the down payment entirely from premarital savings. Lauren got 35% of joint savings. Clean break. 8 years of marriage ended because I noticed her study group was always meeting at places that weren't near campus. After the divorce, I heard Cameron ended things with Lauren anyway. Didn't want the complication of dating someone who'd just gotten divorced because of him. Lauren dropped out of the nursing program. Couldn't face going back to classes where Cameron taught. About a year later, I met someone at a professional conference. Her name was Michelle. She was a supply chain analyst, understood logistics, appreciated attention to detail. On our 3rd date, she asked about my divorce. My ex-wife was in nursing school. Started having study groups 3 times a week. I'm a logistics coordinator. I noticed all the study group locations were nowhere near her campus. Tracked the GPS data. Turned out she was seeing her anatomy instructor and using study groups as a cover. Michelle's eyes widened. You figured it out through geography? Through routes that made no sense. She claimed to be going to campus, but kept driving 3 to 5 miles away to residential neighborhoods. When you analyze logistics for a living, you notice when locations don't match the story. That's impressive detective work. Just professional awareness. Geography doesn't lie. Routes don't lie. When someone says they're going to point A, but consistently drives to point B, there's always a reason. We've been together for over a year now. Michelle goes where she says she's going. No GPS mysteries. No geographic inconsistencies. Just truth. Which, after everything, is all I needed. My wife's study group always met at places that weren't near campus. And I noticed. Because I'm a logistics coordinator. I map routes. I calculate distances. I know when geography makes sense and when it doesn't. Her study groups made no sense. And that's how I knew.